Hello, everyone. So today I read The Devil's Knot by Mara Leverett. And as you can see in the bottom picture on the bottom three, these are the teenagers that were charged with the murders of the three young boys at the top. Okay? These are also the three teenagers that are not adults out of prison, and they are also called the WM3, which is the West Memphis 3. Okay, so a quick summary about the Devil's Knot is that in 1993, the Robin Hood Hill murders of three 8-year-old boys, Chris Byers, Michael Moore, and Steve Branch, were murdered. The West Memphis police charged three teenagers, Damian Eccles, Jason Baldwin, and Jesse Miskelly. There was also rumors that these teenagers charged with. Okay, let's see. Okay. So, what was it like reading a book of this nature? I was very angry. I was frustrated. I have felt very emotional, and I lost trust in law enforcement. Okay. So, considering the lack of evidence, what factors do you think led the boys being the main suspects? So, coerced false confession. So, it was primarily Jesse's false confession that led into the arrest of these three teens. Damien's performing cult activity, that wasn't really a factor that led into them being the main suspect. It was just mainly a rumor that just spread out and made them all the prime suspect. There was also many forms of police misconduct and all the satanic cult activities and everything that Damien was involved in, which involved the other two boys, got a lot of media attention in Arkansas. Okay, so these are the different types of police misconduct. There was obviously Brady violation. They also tampered with evidence. There was a circumstance where Mr. Fogman, I apologize for not pronouncing it correctly, but Mr. Fogman, he actually told the parents that, they were covering up for the crime. So that is tampering with evidence. And again, like for Brady violation, it says Jason's lawyer complained that the attempt to introduce new evidence at the stage of the trial was outrageous. This is not newly discovered evidence. He said they had it in their possession the entire time. That is Brady violation, is specifically not only for police misconduct but for prosecutors as well. Tunnel vision. Tunnel vision was one of the severe factors that got me very frustrated and led me to throw my book and put my book down multiple times, because in the tunnel vision, police were only focused on the physical appearance of Damien Eccles. And whatever, if it wasn't Damien Eccles, then they could care less for it. There was also coerced false confessions. Like there was an instance where an investigator who was with Jesse for multiple hours of interrogating him, he actually said, Jesse was like, oh, it was like around noon that the crime happened. But then, the tape recording, the investigations were not recorded. So then the investigators would be like, it was 7 or 8, right? So it just frustrated me on how the police was able to coerce this confession and convict the three teenagers. There was a lot of lack of evidence as well. Not only did they only like I said, they only based off the arrest on the conviction, on Jesse's conviction, Jesse's confession. I apologize. They also took samples of like hair, blood, hair fibers, and all of them came back negative. And it was just a negative it was a negative evidence. So it was lacking of evidence. Also, the excessive hours in the interrogation. So again, like I said, the investigators actually interrogated. They started tape recording or noting in their notepad saying we taped Jesse from this time to this time. But whenever investigator Ron Lax, he was like, that doesn't match up, because if you recorded him from here to here and it was only like a 45-minute recording, then how come the times are different? And so Jesse was actually interrogated for about 7 to 8 hours. It was an excessive amount. And there was also points where Jason, he was an underage teenager who wanted his parents, and he was not allowed to have his parents in the room. He was also not allowed to have an attorney. Okay. There was also intimidation, which was the intimidation that the police gave for Jesse to confess to a crime that he did not commit. And finally, there was also evidence loss. These were only a few of police misconduct that I found in the book. There obviously are plenty more. Okay. Okay. So, how do I feel about Vicky Hutchison? First of all, I'm very frustrated at her, and I find it unethical that she, I guess, try to play cop and try to get the boys convicted or help the cops out. I got very, very frustrated because I find it unethical because when is it in a time that someone can play cop or help a cop? They don't even have any background within that field, and for them to step in and be like, I know what to do here, I know how to convict the boys. I was just very frustrated. I would not trust Vicky Hutchison. Apart from her leading Aaron into confessing, like being an accused person in this crime, he was only, again, 8 years old. Okay. So, the problems with the questioning integration of Jesse Miskelly. So, again, he was questioned for multiple hours, and only it was recorded for a few. Like, I know when the investigators or the police officers would ask him questions over and over and over, it's because they weren't satisfied with Jesse's answers. So, if Jesse said, I didn't commit the crime, we didn't commit the crime, they would be like, what? Like, no, you did commit the crime. Remember, you told us at this time. That was one of the problems, or problems with the questioning. There was also, he confessed to a crime that he did not commit, and he actually got convicted for that. There was also many inconsistencies in Jesse's confession. Again, like I mentioned, how Ron Lax actually went in detail with the confessions of Jesse, because that's the only evidence they had to convict these three boys. Jesse was also questioned multiple times until the officer heard what they wanted to hear. Again, what I mentioned before. The problems arose from the improper interrogation techniques used on Miskelly, so they only used Jesse's confession to make an arrest on these three young teenagers. And, and they also coerced to confess and put Damien and Jason into the mix. Okay. So, again, there are many different types of prosecutorial and judicial misconduct in class. So this is what we discussed in class. So they also violated the amendments, which was the Fifth Amendment, which was the where he, again, the Fifth Amendment is basically the right to remain silent, the right to an attorney, the right for a fair and speedy trial. And Damien was not getting that, just because, again, Damien was diagnosed with manic depression and he was diagnosed with schizophrenia. There was also violation of confidentiality source, and there was a violation of the client's right, and basically gave them false promises. Also, again, like I mentioned before, Jason was not allowed to have an attorney present, or he was not allowed to make a call to his parents whenever he was in jail. First of all, I found it very odd that John Mark Byers was not questioned for the death of his stepson, because I know in the book there was an instance where he said that he didn't like his stepson, and he also abused his ex-wife, and he murdered, or he abused his most recent wife. And then, so out of the blatant misconduct, as I mentioned before, I guess the most that messed me up or made me very frustrated was tunnel vision. So, based on what I learned in the misconduct section, so the prosecutorial and the judicial misconduct got away with blatant misconduct because no one held each other accountable. I remember when Ben Kinnemer, when he was in class, he actually mentioned that attorneys hold each other accountable. If you see an attorney falling asleep in court, they hold each other accountable. No one else holds them accountable besides each other. And if it wasn't for the Alfred's plea, then that would have actually had them in prison for a lot longer. Okay, so that was the end of my presentation. I hope y'all enjoyed it. And I hope y'all have a really great day.